Right, I want to do this. Let's talk. Should we talk a bit about the T1 team now? There's some good news. Because here's the thing. I was even thinking, this is also why actually it's probably good that you accepted the invitation now, mate. If it had been the last few months, it'd have just been really awkward, like, well, who is on the team and what's going on? Now, here's the good news. You're actually getting some banger players. Like, if people haven't seen, the team obviously got in Zeta, who was one of the best Cloud9 players, who was a fantastic player. Obviously, the Korean CSGO player once upon a time. You just got to notice Munchkin, who people don't know from Overwatch. He actually is a player I thought had a very tragic career, because early on in Overwatch, in the Overwatch League, he was actually a very good player, mate. He was a very skilled tracer player, really nice mechanics. He just went to the wrong teams and he sort of got used the wrong way, and gradually I believe he actually even retired from the game because he didn't like the game anymore. I think he just was burned out on it. So these are some pretty good pieces to potentially build a squad with, and obviously it's been intimated. I know initially when they saw the Zeta announcement and this one, people thought, does that mean it's going all Korean because it's T1? Give us some thoughts on this new squad, like what's going on. Is this the lineup almost set now? Is this what we should expect to see going forwards?
Yeah, obviously, there's some things that I can't talk about when it comes to certain things because things are unannounced or things are private or whatnot. I think right now, obviously we're staying in North America. I think it would be really cool to, live in Seoul or something, like living South Korea. I think it would be cool, but I'm happy where I am, and we're playing in North America. And yeah, I mean, we got these players and Autumn, the coach, as well, is another important piece to talk about from Cloud9. So I think this is another important piece because it's like the vision. I think there's going to be a lot of changes for how we are going to be seen in the next whatever we play next, in terms of style and everything in the next iteration of the T1 roster versus what we did in the last few months, which was not very successful. I think we've learned a lot from the mistakes that we've done in terms of how practice was structured and how much was on the weight of players' shoulders, maybe in terms of just thinking too much. I think that was the ultimate thing is players thinking too much in why we weren't successful. But now we have Autumn, who is going to be looking at comps, not specifically, but he's going to be very vocal about what comps, for example, we should be looking at. He has backgrounds in different games, for example, and different scenes. So he's going to be very assertive in terms of how he sees the game, but he's also going to share that with me. We're not going to be overstepping each other in a lot of ways. So a lot of how I see the game and view IGLing and all that stuff is going to remain constant. And we just have a couple of different players that are going to come and help us kind of achieve that goal. And if I say Munchkin go kill, he's gonna go kill. So he's my little pocket Asuna, CNED, whatever people like to meme about. So yeah, I think we could do really good things with this roster. I think we have it's going to be interesting with people say language barrier. We have yet to run a practice, so I can't speak to that. Sure. But I've it's not the same when you play in Europe and you play with a Swedish player or a German player or something like that, or a UK player, because don't understand what the fuck they're saying half the time. But it's a little bit different. I think there's ways that you can kind of circumvent language barrier issues, and you can have certain keywords, or you can when I listen to other pros playing in if they release match comms or something like that, it's very hectic. There's a lot of words being spoken, you're repeating the comm 8 times.
A lot of signal noise.
Bro, it's what's going on? It's say something once and clearly. Yes. Trim the fat. You don't have to use 10 words to say something that takes 3 words. Use tone and volume to stress this is important info. He's flanking you. Make sure you say that instead of blank. It's wait, what's this guy saying? So you can definitely circumvent a lot of the language barrier issues if you do things right. So I'm confident that with the players that we're getting, and when we start getting into practice and we start talking about how we want to approach maps and the different comps that we're going to run and everything, I feel confident that we're going to be actually successful instead of hope to be successful.
Was the decision to bring in the Korean players and the Korean coach because T1, you know, being a Korean organization, wanted to have that be part of their team? Or was it like they wanted specifically one of those three people on the org and therefore wanted to kind of build around them a little bit?
You have an alarm going off in the background?
That's just a fire engine going past. Don't worry about that.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
I'll go in a second.
Yeah. So, I don't know like 100% of the specifics, and like this is from what I understand or what I just believed it to be the case. So I know that Autumn and C9 and also Zeta and C9 were like, okay, this whatever's not working out. There's potential to come to T1. T1, we haven't been successful this last, since I've been on the team, which was, about 7 months, but, the last 5 months of VCT. Our previous coach, Denis, he was like in full control of the roster for like, I think over a year. So he's had like this iteration of the roster to kind of like make it happen, but also previous iteration, even as far back as like they had like Days, Automatic, Saya player, like they had a bunch of these players on the team. I think he was even on the team when like AZK and Brax were on the team. So you had a coach that, hadn't had the, results that an org would want. The org's looking to make changes. These other coaches and players are trying to come into the team. You have like a mixture of all these things, and you have, our GM's Korean, and he's, obviously not happy with the results of the things, but he also has like a vision of certain things, and he's, been, managing the League of Legends team, and they run things a certain way. And he's been talking to different coaches, and they all, share similar sentiment of like, yeah, I don't know why people do things like that or this, like it, this is how we've been successful doing it in our games, and you should look to do it like that. And so a lot of the pieces just came together between a variety of factors about like, T1's lack of results, T1 management and League of Legends being like Korean and wanting to come, Korean players wanting to play with T1 because of that, and having like really, smart coaches and skillful players wanting to come over. So all of these things like combined were just like a concoction that ended up resulting in our current roster. Yeah.
Sure. By the way, I will say one mad upside I hope you get from having these Korean players is, even if initially it makes it trickier to communicate, they're some of the only players you can usually rely on to put in fucking mad hours practicing the game themselves and make sure their skills at the top level. You don't have to ask this guy to play his role and learn the new agent, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that's like one of my major gripes with North American work ethic and stuff like that is like, I've had a lot of stuff going on in my life for the last like at least year and a half, where it's been hard for me to do put in the amount of time in that I would normally put in if it was Counter-Strike, for example. And when I do have the time, like, and I'm able to go hard, I go hard. But even with like all like the obstacles that I've had and all the different things that have been going on in my life, I've still put in more time in certain things than other, whether it be like ex-teammates or even like I know of other people in other teams, and they just don't know what hard work is or how to put in hard work. And I think part of that's because they've never like worked a job when they're 16, yes. 17, 18, just like worked part-time, even worked retail or in a factory or in a grocery store. I worked as a soccer referee. I worked in a meat packaging factory. I worked in IT for a year in an office setting. So like, I have different work experience, and I understand like how to do certain things or when you're supposed to do them on your own. And I think that's not something that a lot of North American players have learned. I think it's a culture thing, and you especially see it when I'm playing ranked and I'm streaming, and these ranked players like no calming, they just insta-lock a duelist and they don't talk at all, and they just run around and like, just a game, dude, just have fun. Why are you so salty? Like whatever. And then the Twitch chat's like defending them, giving them excuses like, oh, they're not paid to play. Oh, this guy's got a, real job and plays real sports. Or it's like, bro, like you're just giving excuses for us like being complacent and just like not deserving of anything. And then you have Korean players coming in and coaches, and they're putting in the time and they know how to work hard. And if you don't match your the work ethic with them, they're just going to be like, all right, I'm coming in here and I'm stealing your entire continent. Like, what's up?
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.